All right, so Michaela and I, we brought to you this presentation where we actually want to cover some sourcing strategies, definitely some technologies, definitely some tools, but also some challenges because, and you will probably, once again, I was actually speaking after Shelley. I think last time it was in Toronto, but you see a lot of tools, a lot of, I would say, techniques and so on, but doing sourcing on a large scale where you have 100 plus sourcers or recruiters, it's a different challenge. And we will tackle on some of these challenges here actually as well. Michaela actually will contribute to this presentation with, I would say, in-house perspective, how to incorporate digital tools, maybe some gamification, from the perspective of a corporation. Michaela works for Coca-Cola HBC. So you will have, I would say, two views on this topic. All right. So you might know me as the author of the book People as Merchandise, which was actually published 7 years ago, recommended by Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank. But also, if I do this 15-year challenge throwback, as you probably noticed, I was actually IT guy. I was a software engineer. But what's more important here is the second guy here on the picture, which is Richard Matthew Stallman. Richard Matthew Stallman was actually, as you can see by media, entitled like MIT hacker, the last MIT hacker. So we can be talking hacking in a way that, for example, hacker Evgeny Nikulin was actually arrested in Prague for hacking the data of LinkedIn, actually. Not only LinkedIn, but also Dropbox, Square, and so on. My debut on this, I would say, sourcing stage was also about hacking, because I was thinking like, how can I, what can I bring new to the sourcing? Because of course, creating some, I would say, LinkedIn Boolean search queries and so on will not probably make it somewhere in Amsterdam and so on. So actually, I created with some of my IT guys here in the company, we created this device, and we actually, let's say, did some hacking of GSM network, where we were playing, for example, with telephone numbers of Johnny Campbell, calling to someone else and so on. So, and we will actually show what's the perspective in sourcing, because sourcing is a lot of times, as we already saw, not only by Seekout, but also by Shelley AKT, it's about personal data, because it's really people, we are working with personal data. And as you probably know, for example, from Facebook and so on, there were some problems with that. And let's say the thin line between what can be called hacking and what sourcing sometimes might be really thin. You can also work, for example, with Wi-Fi. I showed it at many times at different conferences globally, where you can, for example, use Wi-Fi easily to get the, let's say, the whole attendee list of the real face-to-face conference, for example, yeah, just by using Wi-Fi. And if you want to improve it, even like elevate it even more, you can, for example, use a fake captive portal which looks like LinkedIn, and you can actually get the LinkedIn password as well. Yeah? You would maybe, you might be maybe saying like, who would fall for this? But as you can see, this is like really sourcing conference, and these are the real people. Of course, it's blurred. Their LinkedIn password as well. So this is already here, but the Richard Matthew Stallman, it wasn't about this type of hacking. It was about free software, open source, and I believe this recruitment and sourcing community is also about it. We are exchanging different type of knowledge, tools, and these things. Even, for example, Shelley mentioned a lot of tools who are like paid tools, but there are also some free tools, maybe. In this case, free software, it doesn't mean like free of charge, but the community is creating those tools, and we are improving those tools and working like together. And there are many tools, and that might be the problem. There are many tools, and if you have a team of, for example, 100 plus sourcers, as we, for example, have here at Good Call, it might be really a problem, because you as a one sourcer can maybe do and make some system in it, but if you have this large scale sourcing team, it might be a really problem. As you can see, for example, on this recruiterhunt.com, there are these categories and there are different tools where you can see actually the number of tools. There are 100+ tools, 69 tools, and so on, or channels, job boards, and so on. But the list goes on. For example, improver.io, another list, another huge list, many type of ATSs, and so on, and so on, and so on. Martin Freeman, for example, created his list divided into these categories where you can actually, for example, click on GitHub and you will get just extensions and tools which are related to GitHub. But again, many tools, and you are, I would say, kind of flooded by that. Susanna Fraser, probably for the second time on the slide today. Also on her website, you can actually find tools, as well as, for example, Irina Shamayeva, you can find many tools, and these stacks, these people, these sourcer are actually using. Todd Davis, the same. Dean DaCosta, I think he said that he spent 3 or 4 months working on this huge list of channels, tools, extensions, and so on, which you can actually use. Yeah? But is it the purpose to use them all? It's a question how to implement it. You will see what I mean by that. There is something like OSINT, open source intelligence, where we are working with open data and of course in sourcing related to people data. So as you can see, for example, at this osintframework.com, you can, for example, click on email address, email verification, and I feel Shelley already mentioned a few of them, maybe mail tester. And you have other testers where you can actually test if not the deliverability of the email, but actually here in this case, if the email address exists or does not exist. Yeah. As you can see, Mark Ranat, which has the CISSP certification, which is IT security certification. So as you can see, the relation between IT security and sourcing in what we mean by sourcing at the current moment is really close. All right, so we have many tools, many different technologies, and those are just the plugins and tools which you can actually download. You can create your own stack. I will show you my own stack, but you will create your own. But there are other technologies which are currently, we heard about them, like, for example, we can say, for example, artificial intelligence, yeah? Kind of like a vague term at the moment, but how we can use these technologies in practice. And transhumanism is actually about how people can enhance themselves by technologies to be better, more productive, more efficient, in our case, let's say sourcers and recruiters. So let's see some of the technology which you can expect that, for example, Seek Out, maybe some other ATSs and so on, or other HR providers will be actually sooner or later incorporating into their solutions. If you heard about this, this is actually Tailspin created this, let's say, solution. It's called Experience Reality, XR, Experience Reality, where you can actually train yourself being good in firing people. So it's actually a training system, educational system, where you can train yourself in firing people in this kind of like virtual reality. And it's already here. Maybe it sounds really creepy. There were a lot of backlash about this, like that it's really inhuman, but it's here. And maybe, of course, these technologies can be creating this feeling about like, is it really what we should be doing or not? So this is one example. Another example, speech to text progress. There was about, I would say, analyzing of speech and so on. There was a huge improvement over the last, I would say, 1 or 3 years. Yeah. So for example, in Google Cloud, you can find this service, Cloud Speech to Text, and we are actually implementing this into our ATS, Datacruit, where imagine, for example, you have a call with your candidate. It might be a screening call, it might be interview call, it doesn't matter. You can save the text and you can translate the text into, you can translate actually the audio, the speech, into text. But not only in English, but also in other local languages. The beauty about text is that you can actually search through text. So it can be saved to the candidate or to the vacancy in the ATS. and it's actually searchable. So the colleague of yours can then type, for example, I don't know, Angular, and because the guy mentioned Angular, even if we don't know what was actually what was the context, maybe the IT guy mentioned like, I don't work with Angular, or the other way around. I can handle Angular or something like that, the JavaScript framework. But you can search through the text, so it can be kind of a breakthrough in the way of how we can work with voice. Another thing you can use, for example, Livebird. You can actually try it when you open livebird.com and you have some high quality microphone. It actually tell you to repeat something like 30 sentences, so you can do that. And it actually create a footprint of your voice, including the color of your voice, accent, and so on. And then you just type the text, and it's actually speaking like you. So imagine when we are doing different kind of invitations, we are doing different kind of reminders. Yeah? It's not kind of like European thing, but in the US you have these voice messages. So you can create a voice message with actually the voice of a specific recruiter, which the candidate is used to hearing him or her, and you can improve the overall recruiting experience, for example, by that. This is, for example, artificial anchor in China, Xinhua. So imagine like Chinese people, they watch news, but they don't watch a real person already. They watch robot. He probably looks like a real person, but it's absolutely normal. They have like no bad feelings about watching inhuman subject or let's call it person or whatever. Of course, it has some flaws because, for example, when we are speaking about the voice technology, the problem is that in the local languages, the evolvement is, let's say, far behind because there are not so much data. The more data you have in English, so of course these, for example, voice bot by McDonald's. I was recently working with McDonald's, and you can actually apply over Google Home or Alexa. You can actually apply for a job at McDonald's, but only in English, so only in English-speaking countries. So there might be, of course, some problems still with that, but definitely the evolution is really going faster and faster. And as you will see at the end of this presentation, there are some things, some of these technologies, which you can actually incorporate even now. So the problem might be that you as a sourcer or recruiter might be feeling that you are overwhelmed by these technologies, by these tools, by these technologies. And especially if you are a manager of sourcers, you might be thinking like, so, okay, I'm able to handle these type of tools and so on, but it's not possible that all of your sourcers will be on the same level, let's say experience level, if you are experienced sourcer as you. And that's the problem. So if you are doing large scale sourcing, you need to be a little bit more generalizing. So how to translate this transhumanism, which for me is meaning people and let's say technology robots working together, how to translate it into a real sourcing business. I actually co-founded a company, Good Call Recruitment Academy and Data Cruise, where actually at Good Call we are a sourcing house here in Central Europe. For example, for the 2019, we hired over 1,200 mid and higher roles. We have still, even if over 2020, of course, there for the recruitment there might be harsher times, but we still have 100+ people. So we do, I would say, large-scale sourcing of mid and higher positions. In a recruitment academy, we educate people. And of course, as I already mentioned, I'm a former IT guy. So we know that technology is definitely the backbone of our, I would say, even success, but of our overall business model. So that's why we have datacrew.com, which is ATS connected with LinkedIn and so on and so on. So this is our team, and this is what we do here. The thing is that here, especially in the Czech Republic, we have actually the second lowest unemployment rate globally. We have the lowest unemployment rate in Europe, and the second lowest unemployment rate actually globally after Singapore, which is a problem because imagine we actually had the unemployment rate under 2%. So imagine there are absolutely no active candidates on the market. So with the inbound sourcing or with inbound recruitment, you have almost no chance. Everything is active recruitment, and all the people, when you imagine like the average user on LinkedIn, for example, he's bombarded, massively bombarded. I think one guy from team of Balázs Parachai in Hungary, he actually measured in the European Union which country and which average candidate actually received the highest number of invitations and so on. Actually, it was the Czech Republic. Yeah? So that was just proving this chart right here. So I would say if you are a good sourcer in the Czech Republic, you will be okay anywhere else. Of course, I'm a little bit generalizing. So imagine this is, for example, one of our engagements where we were hiring for a commodity buyer, and we need to fill this role. We actually needed to long list 92 people to get 4 people for the hiring manager, which means that 4 people were actually interested in the role, and 4 people were from, let's say, our screening suitable for the role. And finally, it led to the 1 placement. The problem is when you go, you can actually see also the days to fill, and you can actually see the recruiter and who was the sourcer. So in this case, you can see that it was one-on-one, 1 sourcer, 1 recruiter. When you go to IT roles, as you can see suddenly, and its average number, to fill this JavaScript developer role, we needed to longlist almost 140 people with practically the same output for the number of CVs going to hiring manager. But the problem is that suddenly there are 6 sources right here, yeah? Because to approach and to actually get those 5 CV out, it's I would say much more demanding job and work, especially when you are doing sourcing in software development. So not all of those are full-time, some of those are part-time. It cannot be seen from this chart, but definitely you can see that the number is definitely higher. So when we measured everything all together, and we were thinking like how many people on average we need to approach to get that one hire, we get this number 70. So of course, imagine if we are agency, even if we do a lot of RPO and so on, but from this perspective, we are agency. So if you are in-house, in general, you can expect that the number might be even lower, but still you will be probably somewhere in the neighborhood 50 to 70. If you compare it with some other numbers, maybe with the numbers by social talent, it will just prove that you are still somewhere in the neighborhood of 50, 70. If you are doing just, if you are hiring just software developers, the number will be probably higher. Yeah, but regardless of the region, regardless of the industry, if you have a mixture of roles, and especially you are working for agency, you can expect that this is the number on average you need to fulfill to get then one hire. The problem is, especially from the perspective of a manager, that the sourcer job is getting complicated. It's even for us difficult to hire sourcers who have all the capabilities we would actually require from them. So let's break down the sourcer's job. The sourcer needs to do searching in terms of long listing. So going to LinkedIn, going to Facebook, going to Seekout, going to Amazing Hiring, going to SourceHub, maybe going to GitHub, GitLab, it doesn't matter. So that's the searching phase, long listing phase, searching phase. But still, you need to find some more information about those people. Yeah, so you will maybe use something like Connectify social links, maybe Prophet, maybe the Seekout plugin, maybe some Google search to find more information, which of course you need to be able to approach the candidate, let's say, efficiently. Then the approaching itself. Approaching for me, 2 parts. One technical, how to get the message across. So maybe you need to find a telephone number, you need to find email address, you need to deliver the email, you need to deliver maybe LinkedIn invitation, and then maybe you need to deliver message. So you need to handle a bunch of tools and a bunch of techniques, maybe just by using Google, which will provide you with that. then you need to actually structure the message. So maybe it's a text message, maybe it's a voice message, maybe it's a video message. But again, there are some tools like, for example, Loom, or if you are using just email, as it was mentioned before, you might be using email sequencing. So maybe mix, match, blend list, and so on. And as you can see, the requirements for the sourcer are still higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. Name sourcing, sometimes, especially in engineering, our sourcers need to pick up the phone, call to the company and say, hey, give me your logistics manager. We don't even know the name. We just expect that there is someone like that, but it's just a pure headhunting. Yeah, so that's this. Offline sourcing, going to maybe conference apps and so on. It's still like online sourcing, but going to meetups and do offline sourcing. Then maybe doing some sourcing automation, because to get some data, I don't know, from Facebook groups, Facebook pages, and so on, sometimes you need to use some tools, maybe Phantom Buster, maybe LinkedIn Helper, and maybe Zapier, and so on, or Zap Info in this case, to get that information and work with that. So another requirement, another tools, another requirement. Not even speaking about inbound sourcing, the personal branding for sourcers. Currently, when we have this COVID or post-COVID, whatever we call it, season, there might be more active candidates on the market, and inbound sourcing might be actually more efficient, and you should be handling this as well. So as you can see, a lot of, for one person, for one role, a lot of I would say tasks and requirements. The problem is that one person is usually not good, or let's say well-rounded in all of these disciplines. The problem is that, for example, for searching, because imagine searching, we saw it, for example, with Seekout. You need to create different kind of Boolean queries and so on. It's more logic, it's more kind of like IT minded. So these people which are great at searching are usually something like let's say IT people or logical people. Then you have, for example, people with automation, which are maybe even more hardcore people in terms of technology. Maybe when I saw this picture, I coincidentally found this picture, which is me when I studied the Faculty of Nuclear Sciences and Physical Engineering. So maybe I'm in this category. And then you have people doing approaching, which might be total opposite. They have maybe some clue about how to do the searches and so on, but it's not perfect. They never get the real logic how to do the exhaustive search, for example, and why to do that actually. But they are great at writing messages, communicating with a sourcer, doing press screens and so on. They are great on telephone. But this is a different person. So that's why also we actually try with some teams to divide this role into two roles, where there is a sourcer who's a sourcer like a searcher, and another sourcer approacher. And maybe then there will be something like sourcer who's skilled with automation and so on. The good thing about this is that the searcher actually can handle even more sourcing teams, because the sourcing is, let's say, not so time consuming per role. Because of course doing the long list is one thing, but then call and do the screen with all the items on the list is definitely more time consuming. So that's the logic behind it, that you need less searchers, more approachers. But that's from the perspective of the manager. That's definitely one thing you should be thinking. Maybe you are thinking about how to recognize the best sourcers. Who's the best sourcer? When we started 6 years ago, we hired first 6 sourcers, and usually when someone is asking me like what's the business model, sourcing business model in your company, some companies say, okay, we also have a sourcer. But usually I say, if you have more sourcers than recruiters, then you are most probably have a sourcing business model. When you have 10 recruiters and 1 sourcer, it's not like that. So we hired first, I don't know, 6 sourcers, but we didn't have any benchmarks. We didn't know how many approaches or maybe CV outs and so on, these people should be getting per day and so on. But over time, of course, you can create those benchmarks. And for example, here, as you can see, this is just the example from our benchmarks. We find out that effective sourcer for us is actually producing one presentable candidate for a hiring manager per day. So as you can see, some people are actually, it takes them 13 hours to get it one CV out. So they are way, I would say, beyond this limit. There are people who can actually make it within, for example, 6 or 7 hours to get it. Then, for example, you can measure how many pre-screens actually are leading to this, that they will have that one presentable candidate per day. As you can see, we are kind of measuring each step, so we can immediately see where the problem is, what's the bottleneck. So we can see that effective sourcer for us should be doing 3 to 4 press screens a day to get to that one presentable candidate, which now then works with our numbers. And we can, of course, then predict even if the role, when we see the current state of the role, we can kind of see the prediction if the role will be filled or not. Then you can compare this. You cannot see exactly what these numbers are, but the last row are actually number of sourcing hours to get that one hire. And each column is a different branch or different team. So you can compare teams together, how many, for example, for the branch in Warsaw is taking them to place that one candidate, how many sourcing hours. So then you can, of course, work with costs per hire and so on and so on and so on. So with this, this can be some of your KPIs in terms of leading sourcing teams as well. And here you can see, for example, the structure of our source of hire. As you can see, the ATS is something like 40%, LinkedIn 32%. So I would say here in Central Europe, the market, the candidate market, it's quite homogeneous. In the USA, I would say you have more options. So even using aggregators and so on make more sense than, for example, here, where still, imagine even the ATS, when I saw the source of hire for the first year when we started, it was like 60 or 70%, it was LinkedIn, because of course, a lot of people in the ATS from these 40% are there originally from LinkedIn as well. Yeah, so as you can see, LinkedIn is definitely the source for us. Then we use the job portal database and then referrals, and of course like Facebook and some smaller channels. But when you see it from the big perspective, sometimes it doesn't make sense to push the sourcer like, okay, you have LinkedIn, and push him like go, I don't know, to Instagram, go to Facebook, go to Twitter, and so on, when he didn't properly work with LinkedIn. Yeah. So some people, they say like, okay, if you are working just with LinkedIn, you are not a proper sourcer. I don't totally agree with that. Yeah. All right. I will now hand it over to Michaela, and she will actually show you and present to you how they at Coca-Cola HBC implemented some of the digital tools. Then I get back to some things which are actually related to you as a sourcer. If you are a sourcer, I will show you more tools and tech. Okay, Misha, it's your turn.
Thank you, Jose. Good afternoon to everyone who joined from Europe or from US. We have the evening, early evening. And first of all, thank you all that you find the time and come today. At the beginning, maybe next one, Jose, you can move it. We can start with a short overview of what you can expect today, because as Jose mentioned, I'm let's say in-house person. I'm working in a corporate, so also to see how we work, how we try to implement digitalization and gamification in our processes. I will show you also the technology roadmap, what we already did or when we started already and where we are now, and also provide you with the gamification, some specific ones, and digitals, what we are using at the moment in CCHBC within our hiring process. recruitment process. And at the end, I'm sure that you will be also excited for some numbers that I can share with you. So please, next one. As I promised at the beginning, I would like to introduce myself. As Jose mentioned, my name is Misha, and I'm Senior Talent Acquisition Manager in HBC, where we are the second biggest bottler of the Coca-Cola company. As already was also mentioned, we are on the market with the second lowest unemployment rate, so really the tough one in Middle Europe. And I'm responsible, I don't know if it's luck or pity, for these three amazing countries: Czech, Slovak, and Austria. I'm originally Slovak, located now in Prague. Maybe you know this beautiful place, and I'm here living for more than 18 years. And Austria is one of the countries that I'm also responsible on. If you will have any question during this, don't hesitate to scan this QR code and go to the LinkedIn and give your question, or let's say send me your question via LinkedIn message. If there won't be a time at the end, but I'm sure that there will be some. Okay, next please. Super, great. Maybe I will share with you how our venture or way of digitalization started. I joined Coca-Cola HBC in 2018, and I was so glad that we have such amazing team with the digitalization manager who was responsible for our let's say this transformation of our processes to be let's say much more dynamic, attractive, modern, and so on. We utilized several researches, and we also were inspired by the insights and receptions. As you can see there, we already were supported by Deloitte and their study Human Capital Trends and their reports. Also, we used Gartner Insights for Human Capital Trends, and also we reflect what was, let's say, what we saw and recognized on the market. As you can see on the right side, software was as a service, a cloud solution were coming rapidly, supporting the digital workforce, also focus on user experience, and also the others, more flexibility and integration to do much more easier, productive, effective way how to work, as Jose already mentioned, to be much more effective and somehow know how to measure it, and also do it yourself as an option and be open for robotics processes and automatization. So please go to the next one. Now I would like to share with you the roadmap. So as I mentioned, it already started, or the idea already, when we started to discuss about this, was the year 2018. So it was not that we just reflect on COVID, what situation was at the moment, but we already started to think about it several years ago, or 2 years ago, when we prepared some insights, react, and try to find the best vendors for us and create the holistic picture how we will structure our recruitment. So as you can see, in 2019, we implement a lot of them, most of them, what we are using till now. And in now 2020, we are just most focusing on the fancy things like chatbots, AI, delivery, and some surveys from candidates, from line managers, and this kind of stuff. But I would like to go mainly to this 2019 because I think it was the, let's say, the most tough period when we implemented a lot of tools what we are using at the moment. As you can see on a deck, we now use the digital assessment platform. Is a tailor-made platform which is was delivered just for us. We identify the capabilities that we are measuring and we are observing during this behavior assessment on our candidates. There are two parts. One is the online solution, we call it in basket, how they behave on, let's say, simulation of the real life, and then the role play. Next to that, you can see the video interviewing. I think that for most of them, or for most of you, is not something special or new. Just why we decided also for this, because it depends for us less administration, smoothly processed, quicker responses, everyone can do whenever he or she has the time. And also when we would like to watch out, we can share with the stakeholder, with the line manager, or with the colleagues from another team. The advantage of this is also that we can share with somebody else. For example, we have one position, but we identify another better candidate for the role. And even the previous or the first candidate was quite good. We can, let's say, after 2-3 weeks, utilize this profile and present to another stakeholder, which is really advantage because it's also let's say, saving the time on both of sides. The third part is CRM system. I'm really also happy. It's called Beamery. We are utilizing this system as an internal database to have all the profiles to let's say, create the pools and pipelines for the future, because sometimes we're also focusing on a mapping, and on the other hand, it's also connected with our internal system, Hello or Cornerstone. Maybe some of you already also know it. So it's really connected everything with everything. So we can also have this candidate in both of platforms. What is also advantage, what I would like to highlight is also that you can send a newsletter to the specific audience or to target groups that you decided to use. Yeah. Gamified assessment. I think that this I would like to focus because as Josef mentioned that this will be also, let's say, focus during this presentation. Why we decided in this assessment and this kind of assessing of the candidate, and what are the advantages and what are final numbers. So maybe next one, please. Super. Okay, on the left side, you already see what we already done. You can see also the connection and integration, that everything is connected with our internal system, Hello. So you can also send the invitations through that, and you have just one primary system, and it's integrated all together. HireVue, job boards, Beamery, digital assessment platform, and Arctic Shores, which is the name of the gamification. On the right hand are the new solution, what I already mentioned, AI, chatbots, and candidate hiring manager surveying platform, because we are really focusing also focusing on the candidate's experience, what we are measuring. And nowadays we would like to also start to measure line manager or stakeholder experience. What we believe that also improve our processes, improve let's say whole the process. And what is on below is automatic checklist in our platform, is connecting with the digital assessment platform on the left hand, and is also one of the project which is already done. So I'm really happy to say that we are on a track and it's already sorted out, or let's say delivered, and we already utilize it. Okay, next please. So as I already mentioned, I would like to focus on these kind of online tools we use within our recruitment process. It's gamification, because it's amazing tool. Then customer orientation test, because we also, one of our values is focus on a customer. Then video questionnaire, is you can use online for online interviews, but also you can use for HireVue for the video questionnaire. And digital online assessment tool, what I already mentioned, and online interview. All of you know, via Teams or Zoom or whatever what kind of platform you are using. So come back to the gamification. Maybe I will tell you a little bit more what was behind our decision, why we decided for this tool, because it's a different way how to challenge the candidate. It's in the world of psychometrics, a new way how to help to get more diversity and also job fit with the right behaviors. So that was the focus why we decided for this. As for sure you know that psychometrics is based on the question that you are asking, and you are collecting the answers, the behaviors of the candidates, and then you can evaluate. What was great to know that by gamification, for half a time, you can receive 200 times more data points for evaluation. And I can say that this is really the huge part of, or let's say it's a part of the huge digital transformation in the world. I can show you, for better understanding how it works, you can compare it, or well, for sure all of you in a childhood play a game, rock, paper, and scissors, yeah, when usually you are trying 1, 2, 3 and show one of that. Usually when you are repeating, it's also connecting why you behave, and in a second, or dating on first round, then how you behave on a second, and follow, and then. Usually just to explain you, for example, what means rock. Rock is a power, somebody who is really strong. Paper is somebody who is friendly and more empathic. And scissors, or somebody who chooses the scissors, is much more, let's say, creative, strategic, and open to changes and change management, cutting, and so on and so on. And this kind of observing, or it will reveal who you are at the end. Yeah. So the methodology is the same, and based on this, we can observe the candidate's behavior, and not under the pressure, but what is really advantage, that is less stressful and is user friendly. So usually just play a game, and we are getting the results. What is also the biggest advantage from, let's say, our perspective, that usually after the process, you are, as a candidate, you are expected some feedback. Yeah, not all the companies can give some personal feedback. You usually, some of them just using the automatic replies. You are not, let's say, choose as a best candidate, we decided for another one, and this kind of messages, the general one. And what I can say, that this, especially this gamification, will send you immediately the report, which is not just the points, but also explanation about your behavior. So some feedback, really the feedback that you can gain from that, more information, and you can learn from that, you can build on that. And I think it's also the positiveness for from the candidate point of view. Also, one of the promises, or maybe not promises, but based on the previous experience, what Arctic Shores presented was that, and what they gain with the previous customers, it was that they recognized that 40% they increase, or by 40% improvement quality in the recruitment process. The second thing, what they recognize, that they have, or let's say they recognize that 98% candidate think more highly of employer. So it's really close to connection with employer branding, how you can increase your employer brand. Then about 30% it was recalculated as a reduction cost in overall, so it's also good to have, mainly nowadays. And 84% was identified really the right candidate and job fit, let's say, score to the role that they were looking for. Also, what they increased, and what are also our focus, D&I, that the female pass rate jumped from 15 to 30% in one of the clients that they had. So there were several advantages that we decided really to go with this tool and choose this vendor. Please, next one. Super. Now, as I promised you, I can share with you some numbers, because gamification we much more or mostly use in segment of management trainees and troopers, because also based on the segment we have a specific tools, and we are evaluating based on the segment what we need. And it was also, these are the numbers, let's say our numbers, that by the GA or gamification, 55% of candidates rejected by the recruiter interview was also rejected by gamification. So it's also showing us that it's really effective and we can utilize as a first step. Therefore, we also set up with the recruitment process that this was one of the first stage that we sent the gamification to the candidate. And then based on that, we came with the rest of the tool and the funnel. Also, what you can see maybe in a trooper segment is that we got 65% accurate in the selection process. So also I can really confirm that this is really great, that we really have the people who are fitting to the job. And when I come back to all of our digital tools, what we are using, and with the right combination of several of them, we decreased, for example, in professional segments, which are much more specialist, expert, decreased our time to recruit by 30%, which is really one amazing result. Thank you. Please, next one. Super. And now I would like to once again, let's say, highlight the advantages of included gamification and digitalization in recruitment process. For sure, for us, important is also to speed in recruitment process, time to recruit, decreasing the time to recruit. That then find, let's say, the best candidate, the best fit, so fit to the job. Also avoid bias, think more highly on employer. So let's say feel more positive about the brand, increasing of employer branding, receiving the feedback and positive candidate experience. Reduction cost in overall. This is something what we predict, but as I mentioned, we are now in 2020, so we need to recap and sum up all the data and come back with the final numbers. So it's just the prediction. And adaptiveness to the nowadays. As you can see, mainly nowadays when COVID came, we were already ready. So what I was pleasured that time when COVID started, that we are really full online and we are ready to hire the candidate and continue with all the processes within the Hellenic via online form. Not just management training, not just people in production, but in overall cross whole country, cross whole Hellenic. So this is, let's say, I think the positive impact, and also it's connected with effectiveness, productivity of our people, saving a time for the right other projects, let's say, and bring up the right and the best solution for candidate as well and for us as well too. So thank you. Please, next one. I think that's the end, and thank you for your attention. Please, all right. Jose, is your round. Please continue.
Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Michaela. So as you could see, that was actually the high-level stack of Coca-Cola HBC, and actually how they are trying to implement, I would say, the transhumanism into the corporation. I would take us home with some tips how actually you can be a competitive sourcer or recruiter, especially when you are on a competitive market, which might be, of course, when you are, I would say, agency in every region and in every industry, or maybe you are hiring roles which are kind of like scarcity on the market, or maybe you are also in the region where there is really a low unemployment rate. So for me, regardless of any tools, what's for me important? Usually 3 steps. 1, make exhaustive searches. The number 2, maximize the response rate. And number 3, because the variable time is really important, do it fast as possible. So number 1, be exhaustive with your searches. What actually it means? When there is a sourcer coming to me, he's maybe sourcing accountants in New York, USA. He showed me, for example, this search. Definitely, you will get some results for this search. There's absolutely no question about it. But when we break it down, when we see the title, of course, it's not a rocket science. Definitely, accountant will probably not be enough, because there might be people like, for example, accounting specialists and so on. This is, I would say, just a simple work with these terms, where you would probably get not only to accounting, but maybe accountancy. Maybe you would get to bookkeeping, or, for example, in the USA, or maybe, I don't know if UK as well, they use, for example, the CPA. these kind of things. So definitely the title is one way how to improve this search. But what worries me here more is maybe using the title accountant with industries accounting, which I think in this case doesn't make any sense, because when there is someone who's accountant, it doesn't matter for me like it actually might matter for me which industry he's in or she's in, but accounting, I would use these searches separately. So one search would be title search, accountant, and so on, and the other search would be accounting, because otherwise I call it like a double requirement. You are only losing candidates here because you are requiring to that accountant needs to have accounting as industry, but that accountant is working for I don't know, internet company, financial services company, computer software company, and so on. So it must be either or, but not together. So definitely industry in this context doesn't work for me either. And then we have location, which for me or probably for you as well, I would say the really boring filter. But from my experience, sourcers are losing a lot of candidates right here, because for example for New York, when we just break down what are the options there, you can see that just in LinkedIn, in the pop down menu, you can see that there are 3 different New Yorks where you will actually get 3 different search results, number of search results. Yeah, so we definitely need to elaborate with location, because people not only that they don't have any location there, for example, they have just United States but no location, but they must be somewhere, they must be related to some city, to some location, but they have, for example, obsolete location, or they commute from somewhere to somewhere, and let's say the main location on your LinkedIn profile, it doesn't say if that's the place where you work, where you stay, where you live. So you need to work with that. Yeah, so definitely there's a lot of, and especially accountant is probably, of course, we have no other requirements here, but if you have some demanding role, which there are only few candidates on the market, you must be really exhaustive and you must be really working with this. In this case, when we would improve this, what you see right here, we would get from 57,000 to 115,000 results. Of course, take it like this is like just the first phase of the search. Now we would be working on narrowing down to maybe by industries, by some other keywords, by some other requirements, seniority, and so on. It works in a similar way for technical roles, where not only that you need to know, like I would say, the synonyms and different type of terms for one technology, for example, but you should know also the relation between those two. So for example, React.js and like space JavaScript, for me, it's incorrect. Why? Because React.js already means that the person works with JavaScript. So why to require that person to have JavaScript to do React.js when React.js actually falls back to JavaScript automatically? So for me, this is incorrect, and I would put there just React or React.js. Or if you really want like people with JavaScript in general, that might be React or React.js, JavaScript, JS, maybe Angular and some other libraries and frameworks and so on. Yeah. But that definitely not with the Boolean logic end. For me, this is incorrect. And you can find this in the tech world. You can find this, for example, even with Linux, Unix, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, 3 different things. But when there is someone having the abbreviation for Red Hat Enterprise Linux on the profile, it automatically falls back to Linux or Unix. So it doesn't make any sense to put their end logic. It should be or logic if that's the case. And that's the question. The same with Agile. Scrum already means Agile. IT security. If someone has CISSP certificate, it already means IT security. With accounting, if someone has GAAP, it already means accounting. Yeah, so this is the same, but for me, this is incorrect. So you should be really careful with doing exhaustive searches. And as you can see here, you can actually download talent sourcing checklist, which is kind of a one-pager which can actually help you to make some structure in your sourcing, in your daily sourcing. It's not that thorough that it would be showing you a different type of queries and so on. For example, our people at Good Call, they are filling in actually in a checklist because then the search is auditable, and then other new people in the company can actually, for example, build upon this this checklist and actually improve the search queries and not starting from ground zero. So as you can see here, it goes over, for example, your ATS and so on, but then it goes over LinkedIn, where, for example, when hiring for accountant, you should be thinking, can I search for accountants by title? Probably yes. Can I search for accountants by keyword? Probably yes. And you are doing that, and you are checking out these steps, then going to Facebook, and then going to other sources. Number second is maximize your response by, I call it sometimes, extreme engagement, and let's say only when necessary. What I mean by extreme engagement, imagine that, as I said, people, especially here in Central Europe, they are bombarded by recruiters heavily. Yeah, so you really need to differentiate yourself to put the message across, to actually grab the attention of the candidate. And one of the things, for example, how we do it is by using what I call video sourcing. Yeah, we started since the beginning of the company 6 years ago. Only the tools actually have changed over the time, but the principle is the same. This is actually the client of ours. And as you can see, they are hiring, it's a tech company. They are doing some hardware and so on, but they have software developers as part of their teams. And you can see this is what we call video job description, where, as you can see, that there is a senior backend developer telling about the role actually. And you as a sourcer or recruiter would be using this video instead of the real text description. As you can see, they get response rate 58%. So it's really above the average, where I guess for example, in-house outreaching with text would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 25%. So it's definitely above the average. It definitely pays off to do this. We started, for example, with this company where we did actually these video job descriptions with the hiring managers. So the hiring manager was actually speaking about the role, about the company, about what actually he's hiring for, and so on. So it works the same or similar, let's say, with the hiring managers, where actually the added value is that the candidate can actually see their potential boss. In this case, you can at least as a candidate see your potential colleagues, which definitely is some added value as well. This might work nicely also for, let's say, boring roles. Yeah, we for this company had roles like, no offense, like account manager. Yeah, which, like, with the bullet points, there were stuff like 25 bullet points, really, I would say, boring texty description. And when the hiring manager was actually speaking about the role, the response rate was much higher, similar like you see in this example. Then you can go even more hardcore, and you can be doing like one-on-one videos. So you can use Loom, which actually has some technical problems when you do longer videos. The video and audio is a little bit unsynchronized. So we use storyexpress.co, which is almost the same as Loom. If you know Loom, StoryExpress is almost the same. And as you can see here, Marketa actually she opens, for example, in this Jakub's profile, and she says, "Hello, Jakub, sit down." And she's actually going through his profile and describing, like, you worked here for 2 years, you worked there, and so on. And she's describing these different things, grabbing the attention, and actually creating this first. What actually you are actually trying here to do is actually to get that reply from this person. Of course, this is not what we do for all of the roles. It doesn't make any sense. But when there is a demanding role, when we know that we have just a few people on the long list, and we really need the reply from let's say all of them, because we know the numbers, we know how many people we need to approach to get that one hire. So if we are going against the odds, we are usually working with this. So this is definitely efficient way where when you, for example, send this over LinkedIn, currently it's creating the preview, the thumbnail from this. So actually Jakub in this case can actually see the thumbnail with his with the screenshot here of his LinkedIn profile. So the open rate of those videos is, when those people can actually see it, is practically 100%, because when you see a video with a thumbnail with your picture, you are definitely opening that and you are definitely playing that. So this is video sourcing. And finally, do it as fast as possible. What I mean by that, it's about, let's say, about automation, about robots, about even I would say productivity. I would say we Czechs have kind of a special relation to robots, because robot is actually a Czech word. In 1920, by a novelist, Karel Čapek, he actually created this word robot in Slavic languages, means to work. Yeah, so it was defined as like a machine who's doing a man's work. So those are robots, apart from other two words like pistol and, believe or not, dollar. Dollar is originally Czech word as well. So with robots, we like robots, definitely. And what you can do by robots in sourcing? Definitely you can, for example, automate search. Even like the tool presented here, Seekout, is example of a search automation which is there. In LinkedIn, you have a native search automation, which might be, for example, using the alerts. Yeah, this is already a search automation. You can use definitely LinkedIn automation. Different of LinkedIn automation tool are there on the market. Of course, you need to be aware of the LinkedIn terms and conditions and these type of things. You can use content engagement automation. If you know, for example, Lempot, you can automate likes and comments on your posts. So instead of sending to your colleagues, hey, put me here some likes, you can actually automate it, for example, within your company or within some group of people. In this case, they call it pods. You can interview scheduling automation. We already heard by also, for example, Michaela, some tools there, or even like when I, for example, mentioned Calendly, it's definitely a tool like this. Email follow-ups automation, Lemlist, or for example Mixmax, or for example followupden.com, which is kind of like semi-automation, can actually work here nicely as well. Definitely content posting automation like Buffer, Hootsuite. I use, for example, Contentino with K, contentino.com. Those are tools of this example. Candidate screening automation, and finally, of course, chatbots and voice bots. We probably, and you probably know from at least from some examples, and maybe even like chatbots, it's nothing so uncommon which you can use. Definitely there were, over the past, I would say 1 year, even in the area of the LinkedIn automation, there was quite a big improvement. If you, for example, know LinkedIn Helper, I use more of these tools. I'm not affiliated with any of these. I use Phantom Buster, I use LinkedIn Helper, I used PeopleCamp. Now, for example, MyRobot.works. But definitely there is some improvement. Even, for example, with a LinkedIn Helper, which is, I would say, a really popular tool in this category, which is like a plugin, and you can automate, for example, sending of your invitations, sending of your messages, and so on. Now there is a big improvement because there is a LinkedIn Helper version 2, which is a desktop app. It's not plugin. It's a desktop app, and you can do workflows. So it's not about just sending that invitation, but you can actually, as you can see here, you can do workflow like, I want to send to this group of people invitation, and whoever actually accepts the invitation, I want to send them automatically this message. And whoever accepts the message, then I want to give them 1 week, and then I want to, for example, endorse their skills, and I want to send another message. So you can be, I would say, more sophisticated in terms of how you can automate things, in this case on LinkedIn. Of course, for example, here Phantom Buster works also with other channels like Facebook, GitHub, Twitter, and so on and so on. Another, I would say, good feature about LinkedIn Helper version 2 is that this is actually my desk at work, where you can see I have 4 computers. And the first one, there is a Phantom Buster. That's my main computer. Phantom Buster works in a cloud, so you can shut down your computer and it's still running. The computers in the background, those are linked helpers, yeah, doing some work. With linked helper version 2, you can actually put, if you are managing more accounts, yeah, because as I said, I'm thinking like about the role in the company where there will be like a senior sourcing automation expert, and he would be handling other accounts, yeah, because as I said, it's not feasible that all of our sourcers will be actually skilled with these tools on their own. So you can do that. You can connect their more LinkedIn accounts, and you can manage them from one computer quite easily. And then of course you can connect even not only things within the LinkedIn, but you can connect it with things beyond LinkedIn. So if you know, for example, Integromat and Apify, those are actually check tools, Zapier, or if this then that.com, you can find these recipes where you can do these workflows. Yeah, but that's let's say already more advanced automation what you can do. But automation and being efficient is also by using these plugins. We heard about them every day in the sourcing community. We, for example, at DataCruit, we do this plugin where you can actually see if you already opened in the past some of the profiles. So when I see that Olga is in red, it means that I already opened her in the past. And in this case, the screenshot was done with Adam Vresky account. So I can see Adam Vresky visited 8 minutes ago. So I opened this profile 8 minutes ago, yeah, in this case as well, and so on. Yeah, so it can be 1 year ago, and it's connected with our ATS, so we can immediately see that this candidate is on the long list for the Scrum Master role, for example, with the status to be reviewed. Yeah, so you can see all the things. We, for example, put there things like that. It never happens that one sourcer, or let's say, for example, 2 of our sourcers will approach one candidate in 1 day. Yeah, because that would be good on the market. So we can have these protection periods there, hands-off policy, yeah, because not all of our people can actually know all of our clients. So we can everything incorporate in this plugin. If you, for example, use Discoverly, Propet, Connectifier, some of those tools might have some problems at the moment because, as you noticed, LinkedIn is changing design. So they need these plugins actually, as well as our plugin. We need to follow up on that and actually change it to be working again. But this is also efficiently tools which we are using to be a transhuman sourcers, to save time, to actually process more candidates per day. Phonebook.cz, it has Czech domain, but it's a global tool where you can, for example, click here on netflix.com, or you can put here any other domain, and you can immediately see, for example, the examples of company emails at the company. This is, of course, what you can do manually in Google, but in this case, it's done by this tool. So if you want to know more about these tools, you can also follow up on my sourcing stack, where I'm actually, because some plugins come and go, and extensions and tools and so on. So I'm actually maintaining this list for my own use. This is not like, I would say, Good Call sourcing stack. This is my own sourcing stack. So if you are interested on what actually I'm using, you can pop up here and you can follow this public spreadsheet. Okay, so finally, I promised you some technology which you might be maybe using at your company already. And at one conference, actually, we tried some face recognition. Face recognition, what is it? Now you can experience when you upload some picture in Facebook, you can actually see that sometimes you are tagged automatically because Facebook already has a footprint and has a pattern of your face and can actually spot you on different pictures. In China, as you know, they have this social score where actually they are tracking all the people in the city by the cameras and so on. So they are not only cameras, video cameras, but they are actually doing face recognition. Yeah. How about doing some face recognition like in, I would say, amateur conditions. This is actually what we created here. The chassis, it's printed on a 3D printer. And what it does is that inside the device, or actually the device is connected to the internet, and there is a list of, for example, when we went for this conference, we put there all the attendees as speakers and their pictures from LinkedIn. And then we went just with this device and hit the picture. It's like a camera. So you take a shot, and as you can see here, this was MC at the conference. We took a shot, and it told us that it's Peter Skondrianis, human relations consultant, working with at Kokuma. And the similarity of this picture, and as you can see, it's really, really hard picture. Yeah, he on purpose closed the eye and so on. The similarity, it's 98.2% comparing to his LinkedIn picture, but he was recognized. So it's unbelievable what you can do with this, and imagine what's inside. Yeah, there is Raspberry Pi computer, there is some camera and so on. Like for a few bucks, you can actually create this device for yourself. Of course, there is a question then what you can do with it. Maybe you can do some smart sheets. Yeah? Every time people come to your office, it can be automatically used there. And I saw some companies, actually construction companies, they are trying to use this. But the thing is, as we saw at the beginning, this XR technology, which is actually teaching you how to fire people, sometimes it's not only legally but ethically is actually against maybe our current principles. Maybe we will grow there. We will see. I'm not the judge here. Candidate experience. Imagine person is coming to your office and it will recognize the person in the door and actually, for example, invite on the LCD screen, the person can be invited with a customized message for the person. People analytics, you can, as well as there are tools tracking, for example, how people email or use Slack and so on. So you have different teams and how they cooperate. You can do this in real office, which people meet, who people meet with whom and so on. Area-based sourcing, identity verification, or for example, maybe for networking. All right, and finally, time's up. This is, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but it looks like a postcard, and the number with letters on the top, it's something like Twitter handle, but in 60s, 70s, 80s. Yeah, where actually this is my father, and during the I would say communism, where we were behind the curtain here, we couldn't approach the world. But when you were using the amateur radio, like here, when you actually connected with someone, you exchange this so-called QSO. So when my father connected with someone, for example, here I found I found a huge box in our attic with these postcards, and I saw that, for example, he connected here with Madeira, Haiti, Japan, and so on. And these people actually changed these. So this is like LinkedIn in the past. And when you actually do that, so imagine we were not allowed actually to even go like Berlin Wall and so on. We were not allowed to go to the Western countries and so on. Actually, my father used this to help families which were divided in that time, and help them actually to communicate with their relatives from Eastern Europe into Western Europe. So of course it was really prohibited. You couldn't do that. Of course, the Communist Party would be really harsh on you. But as you can see, we started with some hacking. You can use actually hacking for a good purpose as well. Unfortunately, my father died 30 years ago, right after the Velvet Revolution. But this is maybe a little bit of his legacy here. That's it. Ryan, my man, back to you.
Very nice. This has been an amazing presentation. Tons of information. We have a whole bunch of questions that have come in, but we need to get to the next session. So we're out of time for the Q&A. No worries though. What we're going to do is, can we send you those questions, and then you just jot them down, and then we'll get them out to everybody, make a connection. we'll do that. And then also there were some pieces in the presentation that people asked if we were going to get with the list and stuff like that. So we are going to be giving the presentations out and the recordings, but we will go and gather as much as we can on the information.
Definitely, we can follow Michaela and I, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere. My content is also on Social Talent platform or on our Recruitment Academy as well. So be my guest, approach us, no problem. We will answer all those questions.